Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being with us at the Business Application Summit. Welcome to our customer success story presentation today. My name is Paul Langowski. I am a member of the, wait for this title, the Microsoft Dynamics 365 for Finance and Operations Fast Track team. So, as part of that, for those of you that are not familiar with Fast Track, I'll give you a little bit of a background on that. But what we've got planned for today, we've got a couple of our esteemed customers with us today. So we have Okuma and we have PCL Construction. What we're going to do, and we'll kind of introduce folks as we go through the presentation. But what we're going to do today, well, start out by saying I do a basic introduction on your companies and stuff as we get into the presentation. So who I have with me today, we have Dana Bork. So Dana Bork is also an architect on the Fast Track team. She actually leads the Americas for us. We have Mike Vassell with Okuma, with Okuma, and we have Corey Boris with PCL. So we'll get into their stories much deeper. And what we sort of plan as a layout is we're going to go through and have them talk a little bit about what they did for their organizations with Dynamics 365, and talk about the things that they've learned, some of the success stories, what worked well, what didn't work, and then we'll come after each one of those stories and talk a little bit about how some of the things they experienced in their implementations map to some of the best practices that we see as a Fast Track team. So we'll go through the Okuma case study first, and then we'll go through PCL. So I did mention I would talk just a little bit more about Fast Track. Let me get a quick show of hands on a couple of things. First of all, who are my partners in the room? And customers. Okay, it means there's a few people that just showed up for the presentation that are neither, but that's okay. Who here has worked with Microsoft Fast Track? Okay, we got a few. All right. So let me explain a little bit about Fast Track. So Fast Track is an investment that the product groups, so the Dynamics 365 for finance and operation, for customer engagement, our Power Apps teams, make an investment in a team of architects that are connected to the engineering team. So we're a part of that process of building the product and understanding the features that are coming to market, but we engage with customers and partners to ensure successful outcomes of those implementations. So really the core of our job is about being a part of the implementation so that we can aggregate patterns. What works well, what should you stay away from? So those patterns and anti-patterns, and then we rebroadcast those both to the field, to customers and partners, but we also bring them back to the engineering teams and try to incorporate those learnings into the product to make sure that we're producing software and services that are going to be easily and efficiently consumable by the market. So that's a little bit about what we do, and one of our connection to this particular presentation is both of our customers up here were a part of the Fast Track program. So they had Fast Track architects that actually engaged with them on their implementation to provide hopefully timely guidance along the way, as well as to help ensure that when they had specific needs, we were able to kind of bring that back to the product groups and react as quickly as possible. So that's enough about Fast Track. So what we'll do now is I'm going to hand this over to Mike, and let's start talking about Okuma and what you guys have done for your organization using the Dynamics products.
Sure. Thank you. All right. So I'm not a professional presenter like Paul, so you're going to have to bear with me for just a little bit. So my name is Mike Vassell. I work at Okuma America Corporation. And I'm going to spend a few minutes here talking about my company real quickly, and then the project that we embarked on about 2.5 years ago. I think we probably started our implementation. It'll be 1 year live on July 1st, so an anniversary is coming up very soon for us, and very excited about that. So first, every presentation we do, we always share our mission, vision, and values. At Okuma, we passionately pursue a customer for life. And in this chart, you can see kind of 4 pillars in there. And those pillars are really what we live our day-to-day lives by at the company. And I think this project really entails each one of these. So leading with the servant heart, commitment to quality, valuing meaningful memberships. So if you think about Microsoft and you think about your implementer or who you're working with to get the systems in play, and then obviously making it fun. Not everybody would say that an implementation's fun. They're long, they're grueling. I had a full head of hair before we started, and we were able to get through it and keep our wits about us. So who am I? I'm Mike Vassal, obviously. I'm currently the Director of Operations at Okuma, and I was lucky enough to be asked to be the project manager for our implementation. And so in a couple slides, you'll see the scope of our project, and you'll understand why I said that I'm very lucky that I got this opportunity to do this project. It was quite intense. So at Okuma America, our headquarters are in Charlotte. We have about 225 people at our office in the US. So we're owned by Okuma Corporation in Japan, and they're publicly traded on the stock market in Japan. In the US, we probably have about 20 to 25 Japanese members that reside in the US and work hand in hand with us in the office. And we're in the manufacturing industry. So we serve aerospace, defense, automotive, construction, agriculture, fluid, power, oil, energy, medical, die mold. Think about anything in this world that's cut, any metal that's cut anywhere in the world, most likely is done on a machine tool, and an Okuma machine tool is typically one of the leaders. And even Microsoft's a customer of ours. They buy machines in order to cut molds to make the cases for Surface, different things like that. So it's a small little ecosystem, and we're all in it together. So just a quick picture of our global reach. At Okuma America, we support North America, South America, Central America, basically the entire left side of the picture up here. Obviously, we've got the parent company in Japan, got a sister company in Germany, and then we have other offices throughout the globe in China, Thailand, Australia, and many other places. So real quick, just about the history of Okuma. When we started in 1898, we actually were making noodle-making machines. We weren't making lathes, grinders, machining centers. They were noodle-making machines, and we actually have some in our museum in Japan. They're pretty neat-looking things. So in the early 1900s, we began, creating our first lathes, and then we've morphed into the products that we offer today. So in 1987, we opened our office in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that's home today, and it will be home for forever for Okuma. And then in 2018, we celebrated 120 years in business. So quite a long time for the company, and this project's probably our biggest digital transformation in the company. But the next slide, I think, kind of shows you how the company embraces technology. In Japan, we were awarded, it's called the Good Factory Award, but the combination of the IIoT and all of the automation and the green pieces of the factory that we put together, the government in Japan recognized Okuma and our leading technology, especially in putting into practice what we talk about for our customers. So this is a very big accomplishment for us. So why did we make the change? Why did we want to change our lives? We had about 20 different business systems that we were kind of piecing together to run our business on a daily basis. So our core ERP was BON 4C4, I think, and it was basically obsolete for the last 10 years we had it. We couldn't integrate anything to it. It wouldn't talk to anything, and we just made it work. And we recognized in order for our business to continue to grow, we needed to be aggressive and get in front of technology. So the next goal, obviously, was to stay current with technology. When you live 10, 15 years and you're not able to really give yourself any speed enhancements, technology enhancements, you really hamstring your business. And so it was extremely important for us to be able to scale up as our business grows and be aggressive in the marketplace. So we want to be the agents of change in our industry, and we want to make our competitors' days miserable, and the best way to do that is to be speedy and fast. So obviously we wanted speed and agility benefits from it. Because we have a really lean workforce. With 225 people and the volume of machine tools that we sell and support and aftermarket spare parts and different things like that, we could easily justify probably having 350, 400 employees. But our culture is such that we never want to walk somebody out the door. We always want to make sure that we are healthy, fit, and doing the right thing for our employees at all times. So we expect a lot of our people, but I think they truly enjoy the company. We wanted one end-to-end solution. As you could imagine, having 20 different systems all trying to play. It's miserable for our IT department. It's miserable for the users. I would forget my logins every other day for every system that we had, and life was not very fun. The security and cloud storage piece, we tried to support all of our old systems on-prem. We have a very small IT department, maybe about 5 or 6 people, and they were tasked with trying to keep all of our old technology running, and we recognized that we weren't going to grow the staff to support all of our systems, but we needed to invest in the cloud and also give us some stronger security. And then the final one is the long-term goal of unified and accurate reporting. I'm sure it's probably not an uncommon issue. People are telling stories, everybody's using data, but we're maybe all using different data and trying to tell the same story. So our vision is we want one truth, and we want everybody to be able to get that truth from one data source. So we're making the investments in Power BI and data warehouse and different things like that in order to continue to get to that point. So real quick, I mentioned a little bit earlier the fun that we had. We did everything. So I will volunteer myself if any of you are going through implementations or about to kick off, feel free to reach out to me and ask me questions anytime you'd like. I'm more than happy to share a little bit of some of the best practices we had and different things, and I will get into that in my presentation. But you can see we put a CPQ in, we put CRM in, entire F&O other than the human resources section. We revamped, gutted our SharePoint system. We're in the cloud. We added Blue Star PLM into D365. And we have a portal where we sell through distribution. It's basically a skin over the CRM that all of our folks that are selling in the field are coming directly into the system and doing all of their commerce with us. So placing machine orders, spare parts orders, entering cases with us, service cases, field service cases. And I'm sorry, I missed one more in there. We have Field 1 also, so we have the field service module. I always just consider that part of CRM because it's a little bit transparent to us, but that's another one. I think if I thought a little bit longer, I can probably add about 4 or 5 things to this. And then this is just kind of a quick snapshot of some of the high-wire acts we tried to do during the implementation. All of these arrows, one of our goals was we were in a highly manual labor business, just doing transactions. Every time we sold a machine, we would manually create part numbers in our system, create a project manually, do all of these cartwheels just to be able to process a transaction. When we moved, we wanted it all automated. We wanted the system to know what we were doing and start creating part numbers for us smartly, using the brains and the strength of the system to take all of this non-value added work out of our world. And I think if I redrew this today, you'd probably see about 30 more lines of data moving back and forth. But this has given us the ability to be extremely fast when we're selling in the field and we want to come in and get a special deal, do something to affect our customers and make their lives better. We're extremely fast now. So some of the other pieces of information we're going to add today is what went well, what didn't go well, and as you would think, everything wasn't perfect every single day. So our original project plan was probably a little bit too short. As you saw the size of what we did, we originally thought we could get this done in a year. Hindsight, if we went back, we would probably think about 18 months. And that's what we ended up landing on, was 18 months. But I could even consider that a 2-year implementation might have made sense for us. But 18 months was right on the spot where it was time to go, before we started having sort of diminishing returns on the team. We were early adopters of CDS, so when we started the project, it was brand new, and we made a business decision that we didn't want to put anything in the middle of the systems. We knew where Microsoft was going, and we were, I don't know if we were number one, we were right at the first edge of CDS, so we helped Microsoft, and Microsoft helped us work through some of the original issues, and I think that the system is working phenomenally today. Data migration, scrubbing data. As you can imagine, we have systems that are obsolete. It's hard to pull information from them. The information you get isn't always accurate, so the amount of time that we pulled the data, fixed it, put it back, pulled it again, fixed it, put it back. I say it didn't go well just because that was probably the biggest points of contention during the project. People wanting to start yelling at each other and pressuring each other to get work done, but you'll also see a little bit later that was one of our best things that we did. So it was our busiest sales year in the history of Okuma America. So we're basically changing the wheels. Think about this, changing the wheels on a car while you're driving 70 miles an hour. So that's what we did for a year and a half. We had our greatest sales year ever, most volume in every area of our company, and we completely transformed our entire business. So the fact that we have any sanity is quite a miracle. And then core team attrition. We lost some key players during the project, and as you'll see as I go down a little bit into what went well, executive sponsorship and ownership of issues at business process owner level. So when I talk about the executive sponsorship, so the president of our company and the CFO, they were fully engaged with the team during the entire project. And they made sure that the entire company knew how important this project was to our future. So when you hear it from the highest levels of your company and they're living those mission, vision, values with you, it makes putting in a little bit of extra effort, the longer days, the long weekends, a little bit easier because you know they're in it with you. And as I talked about core team attrition, during this project, we lost our controller. So the person that stepped into the project to help us get us over the line was our CFO. So she was with us go live weekend in the office, making sure that all our data was good, all the ledgers were good, all the inventory dollars were right. And things like that are huge for your employees. The multiple data migration pools and mock cutovers, the fast track team definitely helped us with that process. We kind of didn't know what we didn't know during the process, and so doing these tedious tasks repetitively over and over again until you master it, extremely, extremely important. Test scripts created via the task recorder in D365. So everything that you do, you can track in the system. It gives you pictures. You can put text in there. It'll tell you where you're clicking, what you're doing, and then you can add your own notes into it because it'll just put it into a Word document. So for us, the training piece of that was huge. The ability to document what we were doing was huge and extremely important. For us also, the best method of testing, because we're a sales and service organization, and certain regression testing or different testing that some companies might do might not work for every company. So for us, replicating a day in a life ended up being our best testing method. So I'm going to sell a machine tool. I'm a distributor. Now I'm going to push it all the way through to where we invoice it, to where we collect cash, and I'm going to trace that through our entire system. And then I'm going to have a problem with it, and I'm going to submit a CRM case saying, I need field service, I need an answer on my case, and then I'm going to order spare parts on that machine and do all of these things all connected, and then take a snapshot of it and just make sure that everything went well. So, and then the last and final piece is the Microsoft Fast Track support. I would say that, as the early adopters of CDS, we wouldn't have been successful without the Fast Track team's help. To this day, we still reach out and ask questions and ask for some help once in a while when something's not going the way that we think it should. And their unconditional support to us was paramount in this project. So, you know, at my company, we recognize it and we appreciate it very much, and it's a true partnership. And then, so my last slide for, you know, outcomes and recommendations. Obviously, strong executive sponsors, an internal project manager, someone who can drive the organization and is respected throughout the organization. I didn't have that in there because it sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, but my president asked me to add that because at the end of the day, you do need somebody who's herding cats and getting everybody into the rooms where they need to be and holding them accountable. And so that's extremely important that you have someone minding the store all day long. This one's hard. Implementation team has to be your stars. It can't be the people who might be expendable for some time. It has to be your superstars. Otherwise, you're not going to get the system that you want. Identify a long-term, if you can, strategic partner for your implementation. For us, we bought through Hitachi Solutions, and they're still our partner today. We use them for our support and also all of our, you know, kind of higher level projects that we can't do ourselves. Multiple data pools and cleanups for migration. You want that go live weekend to be as smooth as possible. Multiple mock cutovers. This is a little bit different in our world today. This is a business-driven implementation versus an IT-driven implementation. So sometimes, you know, it's hard to get the business to buy in when IT is telling them to do something. But when you have the business side telling the company what we're doing, it's a lot easier to get that buy-in and drive the team. And then last bullet is the people on the team. It's a tough life. It's not always fun, and it's very important to take care of the team. So we found creative ways to recognize the people on the team in different ways, be it monetary or, you know, special recognition or different things like that. But that's extremely important. So that is all I have right now. Thank you all.
That was terrific. Go ahead and highlight some of the implementation best practices that Mike surfaced. There were several. I'm going to pick 3. We'll go ahead and go through those. Oops, sorry. So governance and change management, it all starts there. And I'll just step back and describe what do we mean by project governance. So at a high level, this includes the coordination, planning, control of a project. And poor governance can lead to project and organization risk, as well as allow the team members to lose sight of the objectives of the project. Am I humming? Better? Poor governance can put the project at risk and put the organization at risk, and also allow the team to lose sight of the objectives of the project. Change management is the approach that an organization takes and uses to prepare and adopt to change. And this includes things like changes to policies, procedures, roles, and responsibilities. And effective change management relies on good communication, training, and active reinforcement. So one of the key elements of successful governance and change management is strong executive sponsorship. So at Okuma, we had great executive champions. It was a large project that impacted every business process in the company. Virtually every person in the company was impacted by it. And change and governance were responsible to make sure that the implementation was successful. So the sponsors maintained the priority and focus of the project at the highest level, and then that trickled through the organization. They provided clearly defined roles and responsibilities, as well as timely decision making. Okuma also built a team that was one team and included a large internal team. It included team members from their partner, their implementation partner. It included team members from their ISV partners, and it included team members from Microsoft. The project leadership provided very clear communication, visibility, accountability, and risk management. And this allowed everyone to work together and do their best work. So number 2, and Mike gave some really good examples of this one, is data migration best practices. And Mike hit on several of these. Data migration is one of the most common areas of difficulty and reasons for delayed go-lives in implementation projects. It seems simple, but it's not. There are a lot of great recommendations here on how to make your data migration successful. I'm going to cover a few of them. So the first one is leave history in the past. Migrating history is problematic. If we think about something that may sound simple, like vendor invoice history, you have to think about how it became history. And we started with a vendor invoice that may have been matched to a purchase order, that may have been matched to a purchase receipt, that may have had prepayments, that may have had discounts, and then ultimately had one or more payments. And what would need to be done is all of those things would need to be considered, and at least the invoice and the payments that settled the invoice would need to be there. So you have to think about how that's going to work, how all those pieces are going to come together, and how you're going to validate that data, because the historical data that's inaccurate is really worse than not having any historical data. Start early. Start this process early. Project teams often delay data migration, thinking that the data schema is yet to be defined, that they don't really understand what the fully qualified data structure looks like. This is a mistake. So data migration should start at the beginning. Start with whatever you can. Analyze the source data, review the data structure and quality of the source data, develop repeatable extraction processes for the source data. Look at data cleansing, deduping. All of these activities can be done ahead of time and put you in a better position for a good data migration. You can learn the tools that are available, like the data migration framework. And even though the schema isn't 100% accurate, and the data structure isn't like it's going to be when you go into production, there's still a lot of value in seeing your own data in the system. So using migrated data for testing is another great point, or another great best practice. So it isn't really a valid test if you don't use your own data. So we all love Contoso data. That's our demo data that we ship with Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, and it's really useful, but you don't want to test with it. You really need to test with your own data to create a valid test. When you build a new test environment, you have a great opportunity to test your data migration process, and you can also practice the data validation process. And then using that migrated data in the testing process, you will naturally flush out additional issues. So it is a very good practice to begin using that data as early as possible in your implementation. And then Okuma, they ran several data migrations. So this provided many benefits. First, it allowed them to validate the data. It also allowed them time to tune the data for performance. So we had some early data migration loads, and I think there was one that was actually taking days to load at the beginning, the early days, the early times that the migration was processed. So this was, I think, the bill of materials. And of course, taking days on cutover weekend is not going to work. And it was also just problematic for refreshing test environments and everything else. So we got to work on tuning that and getting the performance in order, and eventually got that down to some hours. That was a much more manageable approach. But if Okuma hadn't started that process early, the performance issues wouldn't have surfaced, and we wouldn't have had the time to go and address those. Some teams wait until very late in the process, and that's when we run into issues with delayed go-lives due to data migration. And then the last one I'll say is including what Okuma did is they also planned and executed multiple mock cutovers. So a mock cutover is basically a practice run for your production cutover. So you're gonna cut over to production once, but practicing it a couple times is a great way to get everybody comfortable with the steps, the sequence of events, the timing of events. Okuma did a couple of these, and it really helped to make sure that all of the migrations could be managed in the time allotted. It also gives the team a lot of comfort and confidence in the cutover plan itself. So having a good cutover plan where all of your data migrations are laid out and organized, and you have specific timings for how long those are going to take and who's going to perform each step, whether that's the extraction, the loading, or the validation of the data, is very important. And the last one I want to highlight is to take a business process focus to implementation throughout the process. Begin in pre-sales. Have a clear understanding of the business processes that will be in scope for your implementation. From there, you can approach the system design holistically and ensure that there are no gaps in the process. Approach requirements, analysis, and definition in the context of a business process. Whether you're using DevOps or Excel or some other tool to collect business requirements, a business process structures the conversation, and it helps to bridge the gap in nomenclature between business and system. And it also helps to minimize missed requirements. So ensure that you have a full set of requirements. If you have the process to frame the flow, you can take a step-by-step approach with the business users and make sure that each requirement is captured at every step of the process along the way. And then one of the big things that Okuma did from just a project organization standpoint is that they assigned business process owners to each of the process areas in the implementation. So they had manufacturing, supply chain, finance, sales, CRM, and engineering. Their business process owners worked with the project team and subject matter experts to ensure the accuracy and completeness of the business requirements and to ensure the solution fit for the business needs. So they were responsible for decision-making and in their process areas, and they were ultimately accountable to the solution quality and the sign-off. So Okuma also, as Mike mentioned, they also developed test scripts using task recordings for each process. So again, just continuing on the theme of using the business process through the entire implementation. Later in testing, they connected the various process tests together to create end-to-end tests, where they were able to test all the various scenarios that are in their business. And this meant that they had to, each of the machines that are made in their manufacturing facility, they had different tests. These are different machines with different requirements and even different team members that are involved in the processes. So this gave them a great way to test and ensure that the solution met all of their requirements and they had the expected outcomes. And the task recordings also allowed them to streamline their training program and provide a great set of documentation. That's all I have. And I'm going to turn it over to Corey. Thank you, Corey.
Hello? So As Dana mentioned, my name's Corey Boris. For you non-Scandinavians in the crowd, I assure you it's pronounced Corey. My title's Relationship Manager, which makes me sound like a marriage counselor or something like that, which actually is fairly appropriate. I'm responsible for all the construction applications we use at PCL and kind of the liaison between operations that uses our software and business technology that builds and maintains it. Also the chair of the AX user group in Edmonton as well. PCL, so we are the largest construction company in Canada, the 7th largest in the United States. We have locations in about 31 regions in North America, Australia, and the Caribbean. We have an annual construction revenue of a little over $8 billion, and we're entirely employee-owned. We build everything from residential, office buildings, bridges, roads, arenas, stadiums, airports, refineries, pretty much all types of construction. Oh, there, I found the mic, I guess. So we don't have a very typical Dynamics 365 project. So we called our project PM4 Plus, which stands for Project Management. It's the 4th iteration of product that PCL's built for themselves. The plus means it's actually taking 3 of our applications and combining it into one. Dynamics is not our ERP solution. We use JD Edwards as our ERP and financial system. So we are actually closer to being a ISV partner than we are a typical Microsoft Dynamics customer. So we used Dynamics 365 F&O as a development platform to build our construction project management application. The drivers behind that, our current solution is over 15 years old. And essentially 3 solutions, all custom built by PCL many years ago. Server-based, so every project that starts up needs a IT guy to go out and set up a server and create the connections back to our head office. So moving to the cloud was a big driver for this project. The ease and flexibility of development was another major driver. And yeah, it's an unusual project. I've got about 20 years of ERP implementation experience before I joined PCL. I was hired to take over this project. And yeah, it's nothing like I've ever been involved with in the past where, I was asked by Microsoft today to talk about our customer success story. I can't sit here and talk about our process improvements with manufacturing or procurement because we're not using those modules. And the modules that we are using are all custom built by us for us. So talking about those things aren't really going to be relevant to you. So I'm going to talk about some different things. Some of the successes on how we use Dynamics to build this product. So here's our environment structure, which for many Dynamics customers is probably overkill. But what happens is when you buy licenses of Dynamics, Microsoft gives you a few instances, a few multi-box instances, and you try and use those to satisfy your requirements, and you quickly find out you need more. And we learned that very quickly as well. So for most customers, probably that pink band in the middle, which is our production path, probably you get by with that. If you've got a big phase 2 or a phased deployment, you might need extra set of environments. Because we are building our own product and every quarter we're releasing a new release of features in our product, we basically have our production path, and then we have what we call a vNext path, which is the next release. You know, as you can see, we've got development environments that every 2 weeks we do sprints. We release what's developed in that 2-week period to our test environment. We run through feature testing, and every 3 months we push that to one of our staging environments and run through a full regression test of our suite of features to make sure everything still works. Once all that passes, essentially we've got a release candidate that's ready to go to production, and within about a week period we push that through our production path and upgrade that whole path, including getting current with Microsoft updates as well. So this environment structure gives us the flexibility to have you know, multiple release paths going at the same time. Along those lines, just a little bit about our code branching approach here as well. So this is a little bit dumbed down, but essentially we've got 3 active branches at any one time. Our developers are daily checking things into our development branch. Every 2 weeks, our architects pull the completed code from the dev branch into our trunk, and we create a release that goes to our testing environment for feature testing. And then every 3 months, we create a release branch that goes into our staging environment and eventually becomes our production branch. So, you know, in reality, we actually have a few more branches because we've got the production branch that we use to support production, and then the next release is also concurrently there. And we're able, that gives us the flexibility to be able to support our production environment without, you know, impacting our next release. So we're able to create and deploy hot fixes on the production branch. Test strategy. So, you know, we're doing massive development, but just like anybody else doing a Dynamics implementation, testing is important. So, as I was mentioning, we're doing 2-week sprints. So at the end of each 2-week sprint, we're testing the features that were developed in that sprint. At the end of a 3-month release phase, we do a full regression test of our product. So you can see right now we're sitting with about 2,500 test cases as part of our regression test. We are in the process of automating those, just kind of early stages with that. We do have a lot of automation on unit tests, which are, you know, not UI-based stuff. We have over 5,000 of those that actually get executed on check-in by our developers. So their code gets validated against our unit tests every time they do a check-in. We're very actively working on automating our regression testing. As you can see, I think I mentioned there that we've got 3 to 5 testers spending 3 to 4 weeks doing our regression test, which is a huge chunk of time and effort, and getting that automated and faster is definitely high on our list of things that we need to get done. But all of our test cases are managed in Azure DevOps and the Microsoft Test Manager, so we are able to produce nice reports on execution and pass rates and all that sort of stuff. Other thing that's relevant to, you know, all AX implementations, I think, or Dynamics implementations, is rollout strategy. So this is kind of our current roadmap. It actually started probably 1.5 years before this indicates. We started with piloting with just one project in Edmonton. You know, we worked through issues with that project and then slowly added a couple more pilot projects. Last November, we sort of really started rolling out the solution to our business. So we picked 6 districts. So we, as I mentioned before, we have about 31 locations. So we picked 6 of them. We asked them to each pick 2 smaller projects and 1 major project and use it for 6 months, give us feedback. We would help them learn how to use it, fix issues, and after the 6 months, then we ask them to start using it for all new projects. So we're really at that stage right now where the first 6 districts have started using PM4 Plus, our product, for all new projects, and we've started training 5 new districts. So those 5 new districts, again, starting with 3 projects, they're going to spend 6 months using it, and then expect to use it for all new projects, and then wave 3 after that, and so on. So the good thing about this, it allowed us to get a sort of a minimum viable product out to small group of users, get feedback, incorporate that into the solution, build knowledge out in the business. So, you know, part of this rollout strategy is allowing us to keep making the product better, but it also gives the districts time to learn so that they're able to sustain themselves. Also gives my team time to, you know, engineer out problems and be able to spread their time amongst the volume of people. So right now we have about 350 users. By this time next year, we'll have 3,000 to 4,000. Plus, that doesn't even count the sort of craft hourly people, where we have 10,000 of those, plus a lot of collaboration with our subcontractors, owners, architects. So lots of users of this application. So here's a few tidbits of what didn't go well, what did go well, and some recommendations. So, you know, our product is a custom solution. So we started out using the project module in Dynamics. Quickly found challenges with that with security. So, you know, on a large billion-dollar projects where we're partnering with our fiercest competitor, we have to have security by project, so those external parties aren't seeing the details of the project they bid against us and lost on. So we actually implemented security where every project is a legal entity, and that took a long time to really understand what we were proposing there and to get Microsoft on board with that approach. We worked with the Fast Track team and a bunch of they hooked us up with the right product engineers here to make that decision and make us and Microsoft understand if there was going to be impacts on performance and things like that. As you know, we have 600 to 700 live projects at a point in time. You know, we add around that many projects every year, so you can imagine how many companies we'll have in 5-10 years. The other challenge for us, we were one of the first to jump to AX7 at the time. We started actually this project on AX2012, but as soon as the cloud version was out, our CIO was a cloud first guy, and so we were one of the first to move to the cloud version. You know, we've worked with Microsoft on the process for releases and updates over that whole time, about 3 years now. You know, in some cases we were waiting for fixes that you know, we were told we're going to be in a release, and then that release never came. So that was a bit of a challenge. And now we're kind of in the opposite challenge where you know, May 4th we released our version of the product and got current with Microsoft update on May 4th. Pretty much on the same day, they released another update. About a week and a half later, they released another update, and all of a sudden we had to opt out twice within about a week and a half. So that's been a bit challenging, but I was pretty excited to go to the one version session today and learn about the changes in the release cadence. It's going to work a lot better with our quarterly releases, so now we won't have to do anything special like we're doing this week of an interim regression test so that we can get current. You know, the other challenge with a company of our size is trying to meet the requirements of 3,000 plus users. You know, we have a group of SMEs of about a dozen people. You know, very different projects. We've got, you know, $20,000 office renovation projects to multi-billion-dollar refinery projects, and trying to meet the requirements of those 2 different types of projects it's pretty hard. So that was definitely a challenge. So our approach of that minimum viable solution helped us with that. We concentrated on a special type of project to begin with, tried to meet those requirements, and then just kept adding features over time. You know, a huge benefit to us was moving to the cloud. You know, as I mentioned, on-site servers and collaborating with our partners and subcontractors and things like that is pretty hard on the older technology. So having the solution in the cloud is a huge benefit. It used to take us, you know, a week or two to spin up a new dev environment when a developer would join our project. Now it takes a couple hours. We enter a couple fields in LCS and then just wait. And it allowed us to really reduce the infrastructure resources that we need, and even the knowledge of those infrastructure resources just made things a lot easier on the cloud side. As far as our project team is concerned, you know, we had a bunch of dedicated resources full-time to the project. They had deep knowledge of our business. We also had, you know, a number of technically knowledgeable people with experience of Dynamics, which helped. You know, even though we're building a custom solution, we're trying to make it look and feel like the rest of Dynamics. So trying to keep consistency with what the native product looks like. You know, we're working with the Fast Track program, so we meet with our solution architect every other week. We have a partner, Innovate, that added a bunch of technical experience with Dynamics for us. Agile approach. So 2 years ago, we had our first release into production with a pilot project. We're now on release 10. So every 3 months, we're just adding new features, listening to the business, and we'll just keep doing that, probably like we did with the previous products, which are 20 years old now. So we'll just keep adding things, keep on the Microsoft roadmap of new things that are coming with the product, and keep taking advantage of that stuff as well. As far as recommendations for other Dynamics 365 projects, focus on the critical things. We very easily get distracted by things. It's easy to look at the one-off situation and get distracted from the important things. So just try and stay focused on the important things. Make sure everybody knows what being finished looks like. So, you know, we set a small scope for our first release and tried not to get distracted by all the other things. We knew we weren't fulfilling every requirement. It's hard for our business users to understand. You know, they think if they don't get it now, they'll never get it. You know, I'm teaching them every 2 weeks that new things are coming. We're showing them every 2 weeks that new things are coming, and they're, you know, starting to understand that after a couple of years of that happening. So people, so we've got strong executives that are behind this project. That's super important. The people on the team are dedicated to this project. And you know, last thing there, don't forget about training and change management. We've got 3,000-4,000 users. It's hard for people to accept change, to be ready to use something new. So don't underestimate that effort. It's an important part of any project, even if you're not doing a major development one like we were.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm going to wrap up with a few best practices that I think we observed in the PCL example. And I'm just going to take it maybe to the next level. So one of the things that Corey talked about, he showed you that very impressive environment strategy, and he said a couple of things in there. He said, you're going to start with the 2 environments that Microsoft gives you out of the box, and that's probably not going to be enough. I'm going to go ahead and agree with that, even though I'm from Microsoft. So we have people all the time that are saying, and it's been done, people have gotten live, they've implemented simple solutions with just the build environment and the single test environment that comes with the product. But people will often say, you know, why don't you guys just give us, you know, it's not enough. Obviously I've got a variety of different needs on the project. Why don't you give us the right set of environments to go live with? And the answer to that question is because it really depends on your implementation, what your environment strategy needs to be, right? So when you're creating an environment strategy, what you really start with is your project plan. When you lay out a project plan and you look at the parallel activities that are going to happen at any given point during your implementation, Those activities will likely have needs for different types of environments, whether it's configuration environments, testing environments, development environments, data migration environments, whatever those are, you need to have the right number of environments so that you can have the right sets of people operating in an environment that's not going to disturb or conflict with other folks on the implementation, right? And you need to have that set, and that set may morph through your implementation from an initial build-up to what's happening as I'm testing, getting ready for production, to the set of environments that I might need during phase 2 or for long-term operations. So what I would encourage you to do is before you run out and buy a bunch of environments, before you, and I saw all the pictures of Corey's environment strategy, before you go out and replicate that, step back, look at your project plan, figure out what kind of environments you need to support the people that are going to be on that project at any given time. That's what your environment strategy should be based on. One size definitely does not fit all. Application lifecycle management. So some of you probably looked at this at the example that Corey gave and said, wow, that's fairly complex. And I think he even said that they dumbed it down a little bit. Having a good strategy around application lifecycle management is key to a project. So we've seen, I've worked with multiple customers that have gotten into scenarios where they went live, they start working on phase 2, they haven't accounted for multiple code branches, so all of a sudden they have a problem in production with their code. They need to push a hotfix through their environments, but their branches are all full of changes for phase 2. So the only way that they can test this hotfix is to merge it with phase 2 changes and to go through a complete end-to-end test to make sure that everything that's been stuck in there can go into production, and that takes quite a long time, right? So having that right strategy that's going to give you flexibility without overcomplicating, but allows you to manage your business appropriately is really the key, right? I've also seen projects where every developer's got their own branch and it's a complete mess. I've seen scenarios where folks clearly don't understand what branching is for, so we've just created branch 1, a temp branch, dev 1 through 7, merge this, merge X. Have a clear, concise strategy that all of your development team, your build and configuration management teams understand so that you can get that sort of rhythmic approach. You know exactly how code is going to move through your environments and move to production. You know exactly how a hotfix, whether it's from Microsoft or from your own team, are going to move through your environments and into production, right? So be crystal clear and crisp about those strategies. Testing. Lack of testing is the #1 problem with every implementation that's out there. Even the ones that believe they've got enough testing in there can always be more. It's fairly common for people to do very little testing throughout the implementation and then try to jam everything into the end in a big user acceptance test, right? I would say the right strategy is to actually consider a build-up, and we should have actually had our pyramid slide here. There's a few slides that we talked through this on, but the build-up of your testing requirements as you test your requirements throughout the course of your implementation. You can't, in a UAT, especially if you confine that UAT to a couple weeks at the end of the implementation, if you've done 8, 10, 12 months of configuration and build, you will not be able to get 100% code coverage with a bunch of business people doing a user acceptance test in the last 2 to 4 weeks of the project. What you need to do is start to think about early on in the project, one, that every requirement gets tested at some point. For that, I need to have traceability of my requirements, right? So my requirements through to my build or my configuration tasks through to my test scripts. And I should look at testing those very fine requirements at some point at a low level, building those tests up, those requirements tests or unit tests, up into process tests. So every process test, when I run a sales order, a scenario through a sales order, I may not look at every single requirement. So every term of payment that I've defined are going to be in the system, I should at some point check that it's in there. But when I run a process for building sales orders, I might not run 50 sales orders to select every different payment plan or type of term of payment. Right? So I build up to a set of scenarios that are at the process level, and then I connect those processes in a set of end-to-end tests, integrated tests. And then I'll have a set of those, probably the superset of the process of the end-to-end process tests. They're going to be my user acceptance test. And then I may take that same set or a subset that looks like sort of a smoke test or an absolute critical set of functions that I automate in a regression test so that as I go through continuous update, as I go through hot fixes that might come from Microsoft or hot fixes that might come from your development team, that I've got that set ideally automated, right? But consider all of the different testing, and what you'll come to find out is this is one of the things that are going to greatly impact your environment strategy. So based on your project plan, the types of testing you're doing in parallel, the teams that are going to be doing that, it will impact the number of environments that you need to have available at any given time, right? So if you're doing an agile or a high velocity where you're constantly producing code, testing it, while I've got other people doing process tests and scenarios, I've got to have multiple environments to deal with all that at the same time. Otherwise, I'll be doing nothing but moving people in and out of environments and disrupting people. Decrease time to value. So Corey talked about his agile approach, and there were 10 rollouts or 10 releases at this point, right? Each one building up on the last. So they started with a simple template for well, I'll say relatively simple. He's probably, that wasn't all that simple actually, right? So it may actually be a big set of workloads, but it's a minimum viable product that's put into ideally the least risky part of your business, so that you can learn from that and build on top of it. When I got into ERP, which is about in 2003, we were implementing AX 2.5 and 3.0, and it wasn't uncommon to see year-long, 2-year-long, even sometimes 3-year-long implementation cycles, right? The technology did not change that often. It was changing, but it didn't change that often. Today, if you said, I'm going to have a 4-year implementation or a 3-year implementation or even a 2-year implementation, so from the point that I start taking requirements to the point that I go live and I recognize value, the reality is the technology set and what you can do, the opportunity for the business is going to probably have revved 4 or 5 times in that 2-year span, right? So we need to be more succinct. We need to make sure that we're being agile in the way that we take advantage of technology and that we deliver. We can be iterative inside of our project, inside of a single delivery to production, right? So having cycles where I can take a requirement from a business stakeholder and I can realize that in the system and show it to them, decrease that cycle time so that I don't lose tacit knowledge about the business process to the point where I've described it, to the point where I've validated in the system, adds value to building the system. Decreasing that scope in terms of what your actual go live, what your releases are going to be, helps you realize that business value faster. Now, once again, one size does not fit all. So you can't say, well, listen, I should never do a big bang. What is a big bang? So Mike and his team actually did sort of I would say a fairly big bang, right? They implemented a big chunk of the business. And you may have to do that because if I have a single monolithic system that I've been on for 15 years, and the goal is to be able to shut that system down, and I may even have deadlines and constraints that mean I have to shut that system down by a certain point, I can't choose to just pull one piece out. Even if I could, it might not be economically feasible to pull that one piece out and then build all the temporary scaffolding back to the rest of it while I wait to pull the second piece and the third piece, right? So I may need to pull that set of processes and functionality out and implement that. But if I've waited 15 years, I might not want to take that first opportunity to add all of the bells and whistles, right? To catch up from the last 15 years of innovation all in this first release. Culturally in your business, you have to fight that scenario where people don't have what I would call faith in a phase 2, right? There's a lot of businesses where implementations have been a challenge. So everyone talks about we're going to release this over 3 or 4 phases, but the first phase is so complex and it goes poor and it never gets stabilized, so you never get to phase 2. Decrease the complexity of phase 1, deliver well on phase 1 so you can get to phase 2 and sort of iteratively move the business forward. So once again, that needs to be sort of shaped to your business reality. But the more that you can decrease that scope of those initial releases, be able to release in an iterative fashion, the more value you'll have. Okay, so we've about exhausted our time. But what I'll do right now, because I know this from my last session, is they don't actually kick you out immediately. So until the people in the security T-shirts come in, we'll stay up here and take any questions that you guys might have. So any questions?